Hello and welcome to Unwind Sessions, where right after my shift I give the highlights of my workday and answer any questions that might have been asked at a previous session. My name is Juan. I am an English Spanish medical video remote interpreter with over 4 years of experience. And today is Friday, May 14, 2021. Today I took a total of 31 sessions. Like always, it was just a mix between audio and video sessions. Today I think it was more video sessions than audio sessions. And there were a couple of, three sessions that I am going to talk about today. And then I am going to answer a question from one of our viewers. The first thing that I'm going to talk about today is that I got a compliment today by a doctor, and she said she would put in a good word for me, so that is awesome, and that made me feel very good, and that made the rest of my day be better. So moving on, I'm going to talk about another thing that happened today, and this was a little bit weird. So I was on hold and I don't even know who I was waiting for. But then all of a sudden I was just holding and I was in a video session and I was pointed away from the patient. So I couldn't see what was going on in the room. And I heard a very faint voice that was talking. But I thought it was from the other room. But then I thought I heard the patient answering, so that made me feel a little weird, and I said, "Hi, is there anybody in the room?" And then the provider that was there said, "Yeah, I'm here." And then I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I am not able to hear you. If you could please move me closer to you so that I can interpret for you." And then she said, "Yeah, not a problem." And then she moved me, and I was able to see the patient, and I was able to see her as well, and I was able to hear her very well. And then she started just asking questions or whatever, and then all of a sudden, she moves away, like away from the device, and when she moved away from the device, I could no longer hear her, and then she kept on speaking to the patient. So then I let her know this. I said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. You moved away from the device, and I can no longer hear you. Could you speak a little bit louder?" And she did not speak a little bit louder. She just kept on speaking faintly. And then I told her that I could not hear her. And then she moved closer to me, and then she said, "Oh, just don't worry about it. The provider speaks English, and then he'll be able to give the patient all of that information." And I said, "Okay." And then the lady said that that was everything that she needed from me, and then she disconnected. Um, I mean, this was very weird because she could have just spoke louder or moved the device closer, and I could have interpreted, but I don't know. I guess she felt uncomfortable or something, and plus the provider spoke Spanish, so I could understand why um, she didn't want to finish the call. But I don't know. I just found it a little weird. Um, so moving on, I learned a new word today, and the word is dacryostenosis, and the Spanish translation for that is dacryostenosis. And when the provider said the word, I tried looking it up, but I couldn't find it. So I asked the provider, well, I told the provider that I was not familiar with this term. And she said, "All right, not a problem. Just go ahead and say blocked tear duct." So I went ahead and looked for the definition so I could give it to you guys. And, well, she was right on the spot. It's right on point. It is a blocked tear duct. So that's a new word for me today. Dacryostenosis. Dacryostenosis. So moving on, that was the three things that I was the three highlights of my day. And today I am going to answer a question that Andrea Tapia, one of our viewers, had. And her question is, do you have any advice with note taking? Sometimes it's hard for me to write faster. And I do have a lot of advice with note taking, but um, first I am going to tell you that I do not think that you are not writing fast enough. I really think that you are writing too much notes. Now, I could be wrong, and it could be that you're not writing fast enough, but let me tell you why I think that maybe you're writing too much. And then I will get into that. And since I don't know what the root of your problem is, if you're writing too many notes or you are not writing fast enough, I'm going to address both situations so that way you can get the most help. So, why do I say that I think that you are taking too many notes? Because whenever this happened today, by the way, whenever I don't write fast enough, it's because the provider is either uh, like they already have what they're gonna say memorized, so they just read it like 100 miles per second, you know, and or they give me the names of medications that I've never heard before, or streets or places, and sometimes what they do is like they just give you like a whole list of symptoms. Like for example, they'll be like, "Oh, so have you had shortness of breath?" Blah, 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 blah. Then you're like, "Whoa, like, bro, that was too much. That was too fast," and you're not going to be able to get all of that. One thing that happened today, but I was able to write down all of the names and everything. I was given the names of three medications that I did not know, and they were quite lengthy. So that is when your memory is going to come into play in those type of scenarios. And what I did was I wrote out the name of the medications. And for medications, if I don't know the name of the medication, and I've never heard the name of the medication, I don't ask the provider unless I didn't hear it correctly. I don't ask the provider what it is. I just write down what I hear, and then I tell the other party what I heard. So I don't even bother knowing what the medication is or if it is correctly, and I just write it down as fast as I can as I hear it. If I happen to not hear it well, then I will ask the provider for a repetition or the patient. So that is what I do with medications. And the thing that happened today, it was I don't even remember the three names of the medications, but when she said the names of the medications, I remembered the name of the medications. And as I was writing down the names of the medications, I was also listening to what the provider, it was a pharmacist, to what the pharmacist was saying. So um, I had the task of actually writing down the names of the medications that I've never heard before, and also just remembering what she was saying, just like trying to catch really important things. So as soon as I finished writing down the names of the medications, I was behind on my notes, and I had to catch up while by writing down what I was remembering, what she was saying. So it's tough, and it will be tough. And this time I was able to do it, but there are some times that I mean, if you're gonna be writing down those names of those medications, you're going to forget everything else. Fortunately, after the names of the medications, she only said a little bit more, and um, what I did was to catch up on my notes. When she was finished talking, I just said, hold on. That's all that I said. Hold on just a bit, or wait a moment, and then I just finished my notes. Probably took me like about 5 seconds of silence, just trying to catch up with my notes. And then after those 5 seconds, I went ahead and then I gave my rendition, and everything went well with that session. But you are going to come across things like this, like I mentioned, names of medications, streets, places, or things that you've never heard before. And of course, since you've never heard them before, you have to, or they're hard or they're difficult, you are going to have to write out the whole thing because you cannot abbreviate. Because I mean, if you abbreviate the name of a medication you never heard before, by the time you come back and you look at your notes, you're not going to remember what that medication was, believe me. So those are the very hard things, and when you have to write out every single letter or every sound that you heard, then that's going to be tough because you cannot get away with just abbreviating things or just making like little symbols or something that will remind you. You have to write the whole thing out. So if this ever happens to you, if you can make it, awesome. But if you do not happen to make it, what you have to do in those cases is ask for repetition, number one, or let the client know that they have to give you a moment to catch up on your notes. What I say is just a moment. Like when they're finished talking, I say just a moment, and then I just finish my notes. And once I'm finished, I go ahead and give my rendition. So that is the reason why I think that maybe it's not that you're not writing fast enough, but you're writing too much notes because just like it happens to me, and I believe it happens to everyone, when you have to write out a whole word and it's a pretty long word, or 3 or 4 words in a row that they're pretty long and you don't know what they are, then that is going to, like, by the time you finish the 4 words, the gentleman just, or the provider, uh, gave like 5 minutes of speech, you know? So that's the reason why I think that maybe it's not that you're not writing, it's not that you're not writing fast enough, it's that you're writing too many notes. So moving on, if you are constantly too slow, then I am going to give you some tips for that. If it's not just the case that you're writing too many notes, but I am going to move on and let you know that I do have 3 videos for unwind sessions that are about note taking. One of them is about general tips. Another one is how to gauge your notes, like how to tell if you're taking too many or too little notes. I believe that will be very helpful for you in this case. And another one is where I actually show you an example of my notes. I take part of the sessions that I have, the practice sessions. I just take like part of a speech, rendition, and then I just show you my notes, and that will be very helpful, like to, so you can know like how much notes can actually be reduced without losing their meaning. So I really encourage you to watch all of those videos because I am assuming that you have already watched all of these videos and you already have all of that information and you are still struggling with your notes. So I am not going to go back and give any of the information that was already mentioned in the previous videos. I am going to give you new information that can actually help you after seeing what you after trying what you saw in the other videos that I have. So I'm going to get right to it. So the tips for faster notes. One tip that I can actually think of right off the top of my head is that I actually struggled with whenever I started using a pen and paper, and then I actually switched to a notebook. No, I actually switched to a whiteboard, and I was able to get some really thin tip markers and everything was good, but the ink would run out very fast. And then I was able to find some refillable markers, but the tip was not very thin, so my notes were a little bigger, and I had to write much bigger than what I was used to. But I mean, I really liked it. It was much better than papers, and then I didn't really need that much space. So because I continually just erase all of my notes as soon as they gave them to me. But I did notice that when I had to write those bigger notes, I was slower, of course, because I mean, if you're writing an A that is like this big and then you're writing an A that is this big, of course it's going to take you a longer time to write the bigger A than the little a. So my recommendation to you is if you're struggling with this, you are going to have to write smaller notes and that will actually make you faster. Now, this is something that I have to mindfully do. Like if I am not thinking about it and I'm taking notes, I notice that my notes will get a little bigger. But if I am thinking about the fact that I have to write small letters and little notes, and I will write the small letters. Like to give you an example, let's say, like for example, that says what? That when I'm mindful, I might write this big, and when I'm not thinking about it, I might write this big. So um, when I do it like this, I notice that it is much faster, and I try to do it like that all the time. But sometimes my mind is not all there, and I notice that all of a sudden I'm writing in the middle of the LCD board, and I'm making bigger notes. So this is something that maybe you're gonna get right away, or maybe not. But tip number one is try to make smaller notes, um, and that will make you faster notes. Another tip that you could actually use is that you could write in cursive. Cursive will actually be much faster than just regular letters. And yeah, so cursive, smaller notes. And another thing that I don't personally do, but I know that it also helps. If you see the note taking video, you're going to see that I take notes like this. And then sometimes like I'm taking notes like this and then they start listing things and I start to write like this. Like for example, I might be tell the patient to take two aspirin, two, I don't know, Tylenol, two, like that. Like all of a sudden, I start writing like this. Take the patient to take two aspirin, two Tylenol, and two antibiotics. So as soon as I get here, and then two Tylenol, and then I hear that it's a list, then I start to write down automatically because I know that if I go all the way back here to start listing and then write like this, I know I'm not gonna make it. So whenever you have lists, start writing down, not across. And having said that, another tip that I don't personally use is that um, you could write down, you could make lines in your writing surface, whatever it is, and actually just make sure that like every you're only writing like 4 words tops right here, 4 words, and then you go to the next line and then write another 4 words and then another 4 words, and that's how you're writing. And that is really faster, and that is what is going to make your note taking much faster, because I mean you're going to be at hand's reach. You're not going to move your arm, you're only going to have to move your hand, and that is going to make you much faster. I personally do not use that because I try to use it, but I forget, honestly. So, and I haven't really needed it. I haven't used it, and it has been worked out. It has been working out pretty good for me. So I would suggest you try it and try everything that you can. Try all of these tips and everything, and if they work, then implement them into your note taking. And if they don't, well, just look for something else. But you gotta be open minded and try out everything. That is another tip. And I got two more tips for writing faster notes. Another one is, of course, don't write the whole word out. just write whatever you need to remember the whole word. If it's only the first three letters of the word, if it's the letters without um, any vocals, the letters without an ending, like I don't know. For example, if it's ing, you only write like singing, you only write sing, or I can't think of right off the top of my head right now. But there are some long words that I only write like the first three letters and I can actually remember the whole word. But there are other words that I will just write something that will help me remember the word, like I cut out a little bit of consonants or something. And another one is making the making your symbol system. That is going to help you a lot, and of course that is something that you have to develop and you have to work on it, because you actually have to remember what those symbols are, and that is going to make them faster as well. And another thing is, don't write the whole word, no, write that. Well, I've already mentioned that. So yeah, those are going to be my tips for writing faster notes. So write small letters, cursive, split the writing surface so that you can only fit 4 letters per line, and don't write out the whole word. And symbols. Develop a symbol system as soon as you can. That is going to really help you get your notes much faster. And also, never work that in isolation. Always, whenever you're trying to improve your note taking, you have to interpret, like do an interpreting exercise, and that is going to give you the most bang for your buck, in my opinion. One more thing that I would like to tell you regarding notes is you have to use your notes economically. What does this mean? Economics is the study of how efficiently we use limited resources. So you have to think of your notes as limited resources, because, of course, you are not going to be able to write down every word that was said. And if you could, then you must be Superman or something. Um, or I would be very surprised if you could, and I would like to meet the men that can actually do that. But anyways, um, well, you have a limited amount of notes, right? So think of it this way: you are not going to, if you write down too many notes, then you are using too much resources, much more resources that you actually need to actually give a correct interpretation, right? And if you use too little notes, then you're not using enough resources, and most likely your interpretations are not going to be as accurate, right? So remember, you have limited notes and you have to use them efficiently. Now, you have to find the balance between what is too much, what is too little, and of course, this is much easier said than done. There's going to be a lot of trial and error in your part to actually know what is too much and what is too little. And not one thing is going to work for everyone. So that is pretty much it, what I have on tips for faster notes. Now, if it really is that you are not writing as fast as you should, which I really doubt that is the case, but it could happen. Um, I'm going to let you know what you can do in that case so that you can actually write faster. So, what you need to do is that you need to focus on a source speech that is faster than what you are comfortable with. So we know that your goal is that you have to write down notes at for a regular speech, right? You're going to be interpreting regular speech. So now that we know, now we have to find the speed that you are comfortable with. Um, and YouTube does this very easily. What I suggest that you do is that you go to the video that you are going to try to interpret, and then slow down. If you're not able to write down notes for regular speech speed, then you are going to have to lower down the speed 25%. And just keep on lowering it down 25% until you are actually comfortable with writing down all of the notes that you actually need to give a good rendition. And once you actually have that baseline, like you already know, like this is what I'm able to do and what I'm comfortable with, then you have to step it up a notch. Um, Increase the speed by 25%, and then once you're comfortable with that, um, speed it up again until you actually get to normal speech speed, right? And once you have already mastered normal speech, if you actually want to go ahead and go a step beyond that, what you can actually do is that you can speed it up 25% and see how you actually do with that. And what that is going to do is that you are going to be comfortable writing speech that is 25% faster than normal speech. So when you go back and you actually have to do your job with regular speech, then that way it'll be much easier because you're already used to interpreting and taking note for much faster speech. So I hope that this actually helps you and that you are actually able to write faster with this strategy or with this suggestion. And another thing that I am going to tell you today that is actually going to help you as well, and this is something that I actually do personally, is to listen to your YouTube videos or watch YouTube videos with much faster speed. And I suggest that you start at 1.5 or 50% faster speed. And sometimes you can even go up to twice the speed, two, um, 2 times the speed. But sometimes no, because the speaker already speaks fast to begin with. So if you put it at twice the speed, you're not going to be able to understand what the speaker is saying. So if you can do it up to 2, that's great. If not, 1.5 is a good starting point. 1.75 is also pretty good. And what this is going to do is this will allow your brain to process faster speech. And it will allow for better comprehension of speech at a regular speed. And I don't do this to actually get a faster comprehension of speech. I actually do it because I don't really have that much time in the day to be watching some videos, but I really do need to watch some videos to get some good information from them. So whenever I see a video and then it's too long, what I automatically do is I try to put it at 2. If I cannot understand the speaker, I will drop it down to 175. And if I cannot understand the speaker, then to 1.5. And I can usually understand the speaker between 1.5 or 175 most of the time. And that's what I listen to it. And I have noticed that um, since my brain is able to comprehend much faster speech, when I actually listen to the regular, when I'm actually at work and I have to listen to like speech at regular speed, I find myself that I can actually comprehend the speech much better because my brain is already used to listening to speech that is so fast. So that is all of the tips that I have for you today, and I hope that this is able to help you. So please leave your questions and comments, and I will answer some of them on the next session. Remember that I'll be here every Monday through Friday right after work. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you liked the video and have not done so for more content. And don't forget to share. Have a safe weekend. Happy interpreting. Goodbye.